Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Liam Jenkins. It is currently 5 AM here, which means it's midnight there. I can't feel my throat anymore. Behave yourself. NFL Draft Day 2 is in the book. With a top guard prospect in Landon Dickerson, they also leave with my favourite pick of the draft, Milton Williams. There's a but, there are some minor quibbles. Now listen, this is not going to be the video where I sit here and give you all the stats and how amazing the players are. I'm spent. I've been on this live stream for 5 hours, but what I want to do is try and contextualize what we saw tonight, because for me, I think this draft is beginning to fall apart just a little bit. And let's go back to day one. Before the NFL draft started, I stated that the Eagles need to do one thing most importantly, and that is to not be overly aggressive. They cannot afford to be taking red flag players, be it character concerns, be it injuries, be it reaching, whatever. And after the drafting of Devonta Smith, it looked like Howie Roseman agreed. He gave a presser the week before saying everyone's on the same page. And then he said that he understands he has made some mistakes in the past. And he's reached at positions he didn't need to, and he won't do it again. Brilliant. The fans are on side. Like it or not, there's a Heisman winning wide receiver, someone that knows Jalen Hurts, that has been friends with Hurts for years, a former teammate of the Eagles quarterback, and it adds a lot of speed, a lot of crisp route running, which is what Sirianni loves, to the Eagles roster. For now, we overlook the weight concerns. Just put that to the back of your mind just for a minute. Now, this move in particular was an interesting one because Dickerson is one of the better NFL prospects when it comes to linemen. He's definitely the most pro-ready. And you could see that in a COVID-stricken year, players from big schools were going quickly. More prolific players that maybe hadn't sat out 2020. Dickerson of Alabama, how he went 2 for 2 and was like, do you know what? Maybe let's get Hurts' input here. Let's see what he thinks. Let's see what maybe even Devonta Smith was asked. We know the coaching staff have strong relationships to the Crimson Tide. It makes sense. I understand the logistics of the pick, okay? In the way that Jason Kelce isn't getting younger, Brandon Brooks is coming off 2 Achilles injuries, and of course Isaac Seumalo just about exists. Beyond that, there isn't a lot of depth. The Eagles haven't reloaded that conveyor belt. Devontae Vaitai is with the Lions. Isaac Seumalo is now your starter. Nate Herbig hasn't really proven he can be that guy yet. So they had to get someone in. And let's be honest, when the Eagles' offensive line was ruptured to pieces last year, we had Jamon Brown and Matt Pryor struggling against the Tide. Well, Jamon Brown looked like he'd struggled to walk in a straight line, if I'm honest with you, but you get what I'm saying. That won't happen now. The Eagles have a pro-ready prospect who is absolutely ready to go. But injury history isn't ideal. It's a little bit scary. Dodgy knees, not great for an offensive lineman, and you can see there that you're like, okay, I'll tolerate it. They've done that. As long as they go for a corner in round 3, that's absolutely fine. Then round 3 comes around. The Eagles continue to roll. Everything's going fine. You're thinking, this is perfect. Ifeatu Melifonwu falling down. Elijah Molden falling down. Many of the top cornerbacks from that, I would say, mid-round group falling into the laps of the Eagles. And they did nothing. And instead, they drafted. I mean, my favourite player of the draft so far they've drafted is Milton Williams. I think he is a fantastic defensive tackle prospect. I think that the logistics of that pick to me on its own makes sense in the way that he is super athletic. He's got an RAS score, if you follow Kentley Platt on Twitter, of 9.96. He's freakishly athletic. Is he a little bit lean? Is he a little bit slender? Yes, but he gets very skinny when rushing the B gap. He's got a lot of pass rushing moves at his disposal. He's an absolute missile, a homing missile onto running backs. You can see it with 10 tackles for a loss last year. I love the pick purely because Fletcher Cox over the age of 30. The contract is getting more expensive. It's not exactly slowing down. They've made Javon Hargrave the highest paid nose tackle in the NFL. They bring back Hassan Ridgeway. This gives you an elite 4-man rotation. It gives you room to grow. If Fletcher Cox moves on next year, if the Eagles trade him, they cash in, whatever, you've got someone that can grow in this next 12 months. If they don't and they keep Fletcher Cox on and they keep Hargrave on and Hassan Ridgeway on, it's a long-term 4-man rotation. Mwah. Perfect. Love it. Until you realise the Eagles traded back 3 spots to pick up a 6th round pick and do nothing. The corners went. And at that point, for me, the Eagles needed to be aggressive and come up and take a Melifonwu. And the problem fans had are when you start connecting the dots. Because a video came out of Howie Roseman going around the draft room and like high-fiving everyone and fist bumping. And he gets to Tom Donahoe, who has been like the Scissor player personnel since 2012. And he goes to fist bump Roseman and basically almost punches him in the face. You can see he's trying very hard not to deck the GM. He just kind of goes, oh, fine then. Like that. And Howie Roseman, in his best David Brent impression, doesn't know what's going on. And that's fine. And then you think, oh, it's kind of funny. And then you realise it's, again, a massive disconnect between the scouting staff and Howie Roseman. And then you go, well, okay, now they've gone for a super athletic defensive tackle. He did that in the third round last year with linebacker Davion Taylor and half the other players they drafted. It felt like a very Howie pick. And then you go back to the second round with Dickerson, and you remember the knees. Then you go back to the first round with Smith, and they traded up. They traded up pick 84 to get Devonta Smith. And they now get a receiver that does have frame concerns. And that might never be a thing. He might end up being the greatest Eagles receiver we've ever seen. He also might not be, and those size concerns might be legit. Now, if I'd have said to you, okay, you're in the second round, and you can trade back from pick 37, pick up Creed Humphrey at the bottom of the round, who, out of Oklahoma, is as close to Jason Kelce in this class as you would get Creed Humphrey, in my opinion. Very, very athletic, okay? You can pick him up, maybe an extra fourth, take Milton Williams and a corner. Or you can have Landon Dickerson and his dodgy legs, an athletic and very lean defensive tackle, and a 6th round pick in a class where nobody clearly wants late round picks because it's been a COVID-stricken year. You don't have enough intel on the players. All the Senior Bowl standouts, all the big schools are going. You're being left with just a pool of borderline UDFAs it will be by the end. And this is the one draft you needed that intel to work. A 6th round pick in this year's class is nothing. It's dust. It's an undrafted free agent, really. I don't get it. And it's annoying because individually, on their own, Devonta Smith, brilliant pick. Landon Dickerson, I get the logic. Milton Williams, favourite pick of the three. You put them together and it is a colossal downfall. And I don't understand, like, where this is going. Like, the Eagles now have a slurry of 6th round picks. And they've got 4 6th round picks now and 2 7ths. Like, unless you're going to move back up into the 4th and get one of those corners. Many of them just went. Ambry Thomas, for instance, just went. I don't know what they're going to do. They've got no one in the secondary. Like, you've got a prominent need, again, that has been abhorrently ignored. And it is another 2nd round pick, which could be great, that might also be terrible. This is not a draft where you can afford that. Andre Dillard has had concerns. Dallas Goedert, durability. Jalen Reagor wasn't great. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, really not great. You now add in Devonta Smith, who does have size concerns, and a centre prospect whose legs might not work like they used to before. Call him Ed Sheeran. Something about it isn't adding up. And it is a real shame because I like a lot of the prospects in this draft. And that's all I'm going to say is that this draft now is at a crossroads. Howie can either save this or he can nuke it to oblivion. There's only one way to find out. That's to tune in tomorrow, guys. My name's been Liam Jenkins. Thank you for listening to me rant at 1 in the morning. I love you all dearly. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on Twitter, at Liam Jenkins PSN. I'll see you next time.